here today because our client has filed a lawsuit against the United States due to being sexually assaulted at a medical facility, the Carswell Medical Facility, right behind us here. And this is not the first lawsuit. There was previously another lawsuit where a woman was sexually assaulted by the same individual at the Carswell Medical Facility. Furthermore, this particular facility is among the worst in the nation. There were 22 confirmed reports of sexual assault in the last 10 years. And there's many people, many victims who don't want to say anything because they get put into solitary. They lose their good time or they're retaliated against in other ways. So we have brought a federal lawsuit in the Fort Worth Federal Court under the Federal Tort Claims Act seeking compensation. But more importantly, we are also seeking for attention to this severe problem, ongoing problem for many years at this Carswell Medical Facility. This is the place where women inmates come for medical problems. Extremely vulnerable people, and this happens to them. And so I am here today to speak on her behalf. She's going under the name of Jane Doe. The other individual who is from El Paso who filed the earlier lawsuit, that was April Lacey. She was bold enough to use her name and to be out in the public. But I'm also here today with Lioness Justice. This is a state advocacy group which advocates for women incarcerated and the ones who have been incarcerated and who are now out in the free world. So we would next like to have them speak.
So I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. My name is Marcy Marie Simmons, and I want to introduce you to one of our regional directors, Chanel Jones. She is going to give our official statement on it, and then I'll just close very briefly.
Hi, I'm Chanel Jones. I am the co-regional for Central Texas area for Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. And on behalf of Lioness, we are just very concerned about the sexual abuse that's happening here and being reported, especially due to the long-lasting trauma that women will have afterwards. It's extremely upsetting for everyone. It's definitely something that does not need to continue, and we need to spread light on the situation.
When we degrade and devalue incarcerated women in our state, and especially at a federal facility, which I think that we hold the federal government to a little bit higher standards, we're hurting entire families. These ladies are sisters, they're daughters, they're mothers, and they're coming back to our community, right? So what the attorney had led to was 22 cases reported, confirmed. And let me just tell you, as someone with formerly incarcerated, between the 4 representatives we have today, we're representing, gosh, ladies, 50 years of incarceration in the Texas prison system. If 22 ladies were brave enough to speak up, I promise it was more like 200 assaults that happen in this facility. Every single one of us have witnessed sexual harassment at the least, all the way up to the worst sexual offense that you can imagine inside of women's prisons. It's something that's far more common than anyone would like to admit or think about, and something that needs to be addressed. Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance is demanding an outside investigation on this facility, specifically the officer charged with the allegations. And we're demanding the ending of all devaluation of incarcerated women in our state. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
The person who was responsible for the assaults is no longer with the prison system. It's the same one in each case. Why is this a Carswell unit problem and not just a problem with that individual?
Well, although I cannot say their name, I have another individual who is suffering right now. And furthermore, there were 22 confirmed results. Excuse me. There were 22 confirmed reports from the Carswell unit in the last 10 years, which ranks them right at the top of sexual assaults in a facility.
Why do you think that's the case? What are some of the systemic causes or reasons for the problem here?
The problem is lack of concern and lack of compassion. I mean, if the higher ups would just put just take it serious and actually, look into these things, make corrections. Maybe there's, policies that could be changed. For instance, in this particular case where we heard today, Jane Doe, the individual who was the perpetrator was allowed to take the person, by themselves or order them into a certain area when there was other people, watching as well, and they didn't intervene. There has to be certain rules about when employees of the prison, if ever, can have an inmate in their area all by themselves.
Do you think that the part of the problem might be that this is a medical unit and not a more traditional facility where are there not clear enough rules or lines that get blurred a little bit because of that?
Well, you bring up a good point. Why is it at a medical facility that you have this severe problem? A lot of people might think to themselves, well, this has got to be happening in just a regular prison. However, it is very surprising that this is happening in a medical facility, and maybe there's just not enough rules when it comes to the employees that are here at the medical facility.
What does your lawsuit seek?
Well, the lawsuit on paper seeks compensation for the Jane Doe's injuries. However, in a larger sense, we're here today to draw attention because of the ongoing problem, not only at the Carswell unit, but in the Bureau of Prisons. And we're trying to draw attention to this problem because it is very severe. It causes people, the victims, maybe they could affect them their entire lives negatively. And so this has a huge impact. So we're here today to draw attention to it, and hopefully anybody listening, and especially the prison officials, apparently they have a new warden, a warden rule, RULE, and hopefully they will see this broadcast, or maybe the media will reach out to them, and that will raise their concern level and get something done.
Is your client still in there, or she's somewhere else?
Jane Doe is living elsewhere in the United States. She's been released from custody.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
That's it. Thank you so much for showing up today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Can I add something or no?
Please.
I just want to say that one of the issues that make this so common, not just at the Carswell prison, but prisons across the country, are there's no independent oversight. So when an incarcerated woman has an issue with an officer, with the staff, especially of a sexual nature, and she goes to report that, she's punished by being put into solitary confinement. What that means for an incarcerated woman is now she doesn't have contact with her family. Now she doesn't have phone calls with her children. So that prevents reporting. And then also the prisons in Texas, and this one, these ladies are housed from all over the country. Their families are far. And so there's kind of that displacement. And what we see in more rural prisons is the staff, they all know each other. They've been working with each other. They've been going to school with each other. So if I tell on this person that now I have to deal with this person's sister, brother, uncle, aunt, classmate, softball, league partner. And so that's what's keeping some of these reports down. So absolutely, we just thank you for bringing this lawsuit forward, bringing this litigation forward. And thank you all for being here to help spread awareness.
You mentioned that you had some bad experience while you were there. Without getting into details, can you tell us a little bit, what did you suffer in there?
Absolutely. So I was incarcerated for 10 years. And besides the sexual comments and innuendos by staff member that we all as incarcerated women have to deal with on a daily basis, I think one of the most And I'm just will tell you, and you can take it as it is, right? I was a janitor in a dorm that was a cell block housing dorm. The officer was in a picket, which is in a glass box, and he called me over the intercom to come to the picket. I thought that's where we pick up our chemicals. So I thought maybe my cleaning supplies were available for me to clean. When I entered up the steps and looked in the glass, this man, this officer, this correctional officer dropped to his knees and exposed himself to me. And that's just one of the few things that happen on a very regular basis. When you're incarcerated as a woman, you learn to watch where the cameras are. You learn not to make eye contact with certain staff members because you know that they are dangerous. You know not to get caught maybe leading into a more private space. The problem is these officers have complete power and control over incarcerated women. So if they tell you to go somewhere or to do something, they absolutely are required. You're required to do that. And so it's a very scary situation. This imbalance of power and the dynamic between a staff member and an incarcerated woman can be really tricky.
You mentioned wanting an independent investigation. Is there an entity that you have in mind that would conduct such an investigation?
No, right? Well, I mean, certainly the federal government needs to do more, right? Like we typically work on state prisons and jails, but in this facility being in Texas, I think it really speaks to a culture problem because everything that Marcy described, it is the culture of a unit that this breeds and festers in. And we see that in rural state prisons, and we see it here too. So if this is going on like this, it's been going on, and it's a culture from the leadership there. So, whether that's the federal government investigating, local authorities, we need the spotlight on these facilities when this happens.
Can you state your name, please?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jennifer, Jennifer, last name Toon, Toon, and I'm the project director of law.
That's our lion cub.
She's our youngest.
Fine. Okay. I think we got what we need. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.